name is LoeyLane, and I'm so excited to tell you guys about my new podcast, Internet Urban Legends, with my BFF, Snitchery.
We deep dive into the darkest corners of the internet to uncover whether some of the most notorious web myths are hoax or whether they're con. Internet Urban Legends, available exclusively on Spotify.
Hello, my loves. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if you are new here. Hi, hello. My name is Loey, and I bet you thought you'd seen The Last of Us.
The last of me,
Eleanor is basically living in my house now. I have stolen her.
Correct.
And we are getting ready to go to dinner with a friend. And as we were about to get ready, I feel like naturally, because of the podcast that we have, Internet Urban Legends, you did in fact just see the pre-roll, along with, I don't know, just the way that we normally talk to each other, we're always talking about something a little disturbing, a little creepy.
A little, dark and dubious.
So we were talking about the Morbius film and how Jared Leto is
dark and dubious, only quality.
I feel like everyone collectively forgot that Jared Leto just like has a cult.
This came around because you said that exact sentence to me. You were like, I feel like everybody just forgot. And I was like, who forgot?
Every single time that I see him, every single time I look at his face, I'm like, you are a cult leader. So we're going to do our faces and talk all about it today. So Jared Leto is known for, so many different things. Within Hollywood, so many different things. First and foremost, Jared Leto is 50. He is 50 years old. He was born on December 26th of 1971. He is a Capricorn, but he's also 50.
Okay, so for people who watch IUL, they know I am often not a believer, but something is going on with that man, and it's nefarious. It's otherworldly. It's extraterrestrial.
It is extraterrestrial. So he is often known for his role as the Joker in Suicide Squad, as well as, just incredible.
Unfortunately for us all.
He's also known for his band 30 Seconds to Mars, which, I'm gonna be totally honest with you guys, until basically all the stuff with the cult came out and his cult around his band, I did not know that Jared Leto was in 30 Seconds to Mars. Just because I was such a casual fan of their music, I had never looked into them, but it's literally like him and his brother.
It causes, I think, that knowledge a schism in the brain. Even when you do learn it, because I've known this information for a while, and I was never a 30 Seconds to Mars fan, but I still don't associate the two. I guess I did think Jared Leto was a little bit older than maybe I'm giving myself credit for, because when I learned that information, I was like, why is this older man doing what he's doing with this band that I guess, with my brain stuck in a time warp, I had assumed was fronted by like two 30-year-olds maybe?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. I actually could not believe that he's 50 because, unfortunately, the man is kind of attractive. He's 50. I could not believe it. I truly couldn't believe it.
He looks to me, I saw Morbius, and I, the entire time, was like...
Oh, how did you like Morbius?
It was terrible. It was actually...
That is what I heard.
Insufferably miserable, and it was so boring. It wasn't even fun to mute on. But the whole time I was watching the movie, I was like, what does Jared Leto look like? Because I understand that his features... He's a movie star, so his features are, like, traditionally attractive, right?
Yeah.
But I was like, I don't find him attractive. Like, I'm not attracted to him. He looks like a big baby.
He does look like a big baby.
He looks like a big bearded baby, but he has baby eyes.
He's got the most massive boss baby eyes. Yeah.
Yes, he just looks like a baby. So I think that's what makes the 50-year-old thing shocking.
Yeah.
That he looks like a big infant.
I can understand that. Not even that he looks young or like super, whatever. Just that he is in fact a child. Recently, of course, he has been on like press tour after press tour for Morbius. I have seen this man absolutely everywhere. And every single time I see him, I'm like, did we all just collectively forget? Did we forget that Jared Leto had started a cult? And the thing is that this really isn't like that old of information, I guess. It really broke in like 2019 that Jared Leto...
That recently?
Yes.
Wow.
That he was in fact just like... That's when all of the headlines that I researched came up anyway. It
the pictures.
Yes. Like the white, that iconic, like I'll show it now, him in the white robes and everyone else wearing white, like that's...
The Kool-Aid. It's immediately what your mind evokes.
The Kool-Aid. So the cult had humble beginnings that we will in fact talk about momentarily. But in 2019, it came out that he and his bandmates basically invited fans to what was essentially a 3-day festival on a private island in Croatia. Now, this island is beautiful. I had no idea that Croatia was that pretty until I was looking at these photos and I was like, dang, it's really beautiful there. So on this 3-day festival, the band would put on, you know, concerts that obviously people wouldn't be able to hear anywhere else. They hosted like yoga and meditation circles and stuff.
How much music do they have?
We're going to talk about their music because I did not realize there was some drama in 30 Seconds to Mars's like record deals and stuff. Fascinating, truly fascinating. Anyway, I'm putting on way too much contour.
I felt that.
I just truly kept putting it on. I was like, Jared Leto. So this 3-day festival came with concerts from 30 Seconds to Mars. I think 2 over the 3-day period, as well as like movie screenings, probably of Jared Leto's movies. It doesn't explain or like expand on that.
Is 30 Seconds to Mars, I mean, they obviously hosted this festival in 2019. Are they still actively making music? Like, are they still an active band?
That's a good question. I'm actually gonna look that up. Wow, 30 Seconds to Mars has a lot of music. Okay, so they put out 5 albums. 30 Seconds to Mars, A Beautiful Lie, This Is War, Love, Lust, Faith, and Dreams, and then most recently in 2018, America. It looks like there's about 5 years between the most recent couple of albums though. Okay. So they certainly are still putting out music, but I don't think like, they're not a band that you hear on the radio really anymore or anything.
No. So the Cult was a comeback.
The Cult was a massive comeback, and these are die-hard people. Like, people who love Jared Leto, love 30 Seconds to Mars, like, enough to pay thousands of dollars, which again, we'll talk about, to go to Croatia for days to just hopefully spend time with him.
So weird.
It is fascinating, because it's like, that's really not something that most celebrities do. No. And it's equal parts, like, kind of, I guess, sort of cool outside of the cult aspect that, like, yeah, this guy, like, loves his fans, wants to spend time with his fans.
For the low price.
For the low price of $1,700 to start.
Yeah, bye.
Literally someone's house payment. But it's just weird. Like, you don't hear about celebrities really, like, giving out that degree of access to people.
You think it would be a safety issue? That's always my thought.
I think so,
but, like,
too.
he has all these fans that are obsessed enough with him to call themselves a cult. But, like, he does allow them so much access to, like, his space, and I don't know, like, if you look at those photos, he's just sitting on the ground with them, and, like, just mobs of people. I've always found that kind of surprising.
During these 3-day festivals that they will host, there's no drugs allowed, no alcohol, no weapons. Like, you ferry onto the island and everything's really checked. That doesn't mean that, like, something nefarious couldn't happen without those things, but...
Yeah, you said you're like, no drugs. I'm like, Jared Leto's definitely not doing drugs on the island, for sure.
Right. Tickets start out at $1,700 for this experience where you basically go to this private island, and included in that price are accommodations, starting out with tents when you were paying the $1,700 price, but accommodations on a private island, concerts, experiences, as well as food, like snacks, meals, etc. And what I will say is that in reading everything about this, there are just like 0 complaints. Just like
really
none from people. They love this retreat. And I can imagine why. If you are paying that much money to see one band perform and just hopefully gets to spend some time with them, you are a huge fan of these people. It turns out that this was going on a lot longer though than just 2019. Back in 2015, 30 Seconds to Mars hosted an event in Malibu called Camp Mars. And it basically was this exact same thing. You know, it's like this mini festival along with like yoga and all this stuff, right? It, I guess, just gradually grew into a place where Jared Leto and 30 Seconds to Mars were like, hey, let's go to a private island in Croatia, baby. And fans were really excited about this, just like very stoked for a getaway with their celebrity bestie. So those humble beginnings of Camp Mars in Malibu would lead 30 Seconds to Mars, as well as fans, which Jared Leto refers to as the echelon. Is that like like, that's a word, right? What does it mean?
Yeah, like the upper echelon.
So the echelon is a level or rank in organization, a profession, or society.
Yeah. Okay.
Could not be cultier. Could not be cultier. This island in Croatia was referred to as Mars Island, actually. And it led me to believe that this was Jared Leto's private island, where he was just allowing these people to come and hang. He sure does, calling it Mars Island. However, nay. This is actually an island called, and I'm going to butcher this, Obanjan Island, and it's available to be rented out for like big events. You can also just like go and stay in a resort there and stuff. But you also, if you have like a massive event or something, or you know whatever, you can rent out the whole island, which is obviously what they do. The island is pretty bare bones, other than I mean, it's a beautiful tourist destination. Don't get me wrong, like very like nature based and like beautiful and lush trees, and the water is like sparkling, but 30 Seconds to Mars brings the drama is what I'm getting at. Like they certainly bring a lot of the chaos. People from all over the world came to Camp Mars when it transitioned into being in this private island in Croatia, and then these images started circulating. People never talked about Camp Mars when it was just a little event in Malibu. And then suddenly Jared Leto is running a cult on an island. And you all know the photo that came out of all of them in these robes. And just like people were like, what the hell is going on with Jared Leto? I remember Twitter was ablaze that day. Just like, Jared Leto has a cult. What is 2019? This did not freak out 30 Seconds to Mars or anyone attending, because 30 Seconds to Mars tweeted out the photos themselves saying, yeah, it's a cult. Responding to the media allegations of like, this looks a very cult-like with, yep, totally, it's a cult. And it's clear that like they sort of like capitalize on this and sort of meme on it. So this all leads us to a place where now the media is calling Jared Leto a cult leader. Twitter is calling Jared Leto a cult leader. Jared Leto himself is calling himself a cult leader. And that's just all the headlines were forever. And then it sort of like faded out into obscurity. Like nobody really talked about it anymore. Listen. Allegedly. I mean, there's not really anything alleged about this. Like, it's just that Jared Leto has led such a fascinating life and his personality is so interesting. And I do think that like, I read about his history and it's like, yeah, he has the makings of a cult leader. He was born on December 26th of 1971. He is 50 years old. I do think like he's like a very holistic person. Based on, I mean, is that even like the way to describe that? Just like somebody who believes in a lot of like spirituality and like all this stuff where I think that honestly probably keeps people so young. Remember back in 2020 in March when he came to Twitter and he was like, I was in a silent meditation for 2 weeks and I had no idea about COVID. He put out a series of tweets and an Instagram post and stuff where he was just like, we were in a silent meditation. I got out. There were 150 cases of COVID in the US when I went in. Now the world has shut down. Like, it feels like I'm in the zombie apocalypse.
Only Letosis.
I do like that name for him.
Only Letosis would be like, I'm so enlightened, I didn't even see the global pandemic.
Jared Leto is made for Hollywood. Just like based off of his personality alone. And it doesn't surprise me. Like, I did not know his age. I did not know how old he was. And not the 50s, like, old. Like my mom is in her 50s and I do not look at my mother and I'm like, you're so old, you're like the crypt keeper. But like it is just interesting because I would have pinned him in his 30s just based on the way that he looks.
50 is not at all old, but normally 50-year-olds are not leading like band retreat experiences full of young fans.
Not at all.
Or not young fans. They don't have teenage fans, but like young adults.
So he's this heartthrob in the 90s. Everyone loves Jared Leto. Jared Leto is the hottest. He gets all these great roles. He's like huge. And then he starts this band, 30 Seconds to Mars, with his brother Shannon. And Shannon's a cool name for a guy, first and foremost. Yes. I've never heard that before for a man, and I'm very into it. What was interesting, I guess, about the 30 Seconds to Mars rise to fame, rise to success, was Jared Leto was very much so just like, I do not want my name in the film industry really to affect this band. He was just like, I want it to be a success on its own. Like, I don't want to rely on this part of my life. 30 Seconds to Mars went through a massive ordeal with their record label, which was EMI Records. And I think it's a subsidy of Island Records. And they claimed that after producing like 2 albums, selling millions and millions of copies in the early 2000s, they never received a dime. And EMI Records owned all of the rights to their music. And
why would they sign that contract?
I guess that this was just really common back then. I was reading about this because I thought the same thing, but I guess the way that record deals used to work was like these labels would come to you and they would be like, hey, let us own, you know, your music that you're making under us, you know, because we're just going to promote it more. We're going to promote it more and more and more. And it was something in the wording, whatever. They signed the contract either way. They're not making a dime, essentially, because of this terrible contract that they signed when they were a very new band. But Jared Leto also has so much experience in film industry. It's so surprising to me that he got screwed over so badly in business when he already kind of works in Hollywood, you know? This happens and they go public with it and it turns into this $30 million lawsuit that's just like eventually settled by 30 Seconds to Mars, signing a new contract under them. And they've continued to make music under them ever since.
That's weird.
As far as I understand. So really interesting. I can imagine having that degree of like a fight.
Animosity towards your employer.
Jared Leto is also famously a method actor. I don't think that this was something that he necessarily took on when he was doing his little heartthrob roles in sitcoms in the 90s and stuff. I don't really even know if that's the kind of TV that he made. That's how out of the loop I am. But he definitely, when he started taking on more serious roles, became just like a widely known method actor where it's like, remember how in The Joker, he just like wouldn't break character?
Yeah, he sent weird like sexual things to Margot Robbie and was like just generally behaving unhingedly.
Yes. Like completely ridiculous behavior.
Non-consensually, unhingedly.
I guess
towards his co-stars.
I guess that Viola Davis came out and she was just like, yeah, the first time we had met Jared Leto, he had hired a henchman and the henchman brought us in a dead pig. That was just how we met him. And that's just like the kind of stuff that he would do because he was the Joker. He wouldn't let anyone on set call him Jared. They had to call him Mr. J. Disaster truly struck. We were so deep into this Get Ready With Me I was about to start talking about Margot Robbie's new pet rat from Jared Leto. My camera battery died despite being fully charged, so that was odd, and I do feel like a psychic attack from Jared Leto, who could be a cult vampire. But what I was gonna say is like, yeah, he would send like live gifts to people, like creepy gifts, things like a live rat to Margot Robbie, who was so endeared by it. She was like, I'm going to keep this little dude and keep him as a pet. And then her landlord found out. I was
Margot
like,
Robbie's landlord?
Yeah, I guess it was just because she was like, she's Australian, right?
Margot Robbie can't like pay her way into that
is true, and I did think that. I was like, can Margot Robbie's landlord tell Margot Robbie not to have the rat? But
yeah, like
maybe it was just a casual little made-up story, a fib, if you will, which apparently is not uncommon for Margot Robbie. Maybe we should do a video about that too. Just like celebrities, like violent lies. That's just like a little bit about Jared Leto, I guess. 50-year-old man who is in this band that's really widely renowned, is like an actor and a pretty serious one at that, I guess, a self-proclaimed serious one. And that was just an actor. Like that's exactly how he is. It's just like, I'm not an actor, I'm an actor. Like he's like a method actor, right? To get back to the cult stuff though, ultimately, is this a cult? Yeah. I mean, yes, it is a self-proclaimed cult. Yes. It is called a cult. But I guess just not in the way that initially was expected. These people are paying extraordinary amounts of money to be on an island alone with their favorite band and stuff. But like nothing has gone wrong, at least it's ever been reported in terms of people getting hurt or like anything going awry. He's a colorful character and certainly a self-proclaimed cult leader. I mean, 30 Seconds to Mars called it a cult. They made like basically merchandise that called them a cult. It was interesting. I walked away from this just like, oh, well, this was a fascinating deep dive into what is clearly just like a marketing ploy, right?
That is the first thought.
Yeah.
That's my thought as well. Like, it's obviously not a cult. It's like, it's their marketing thing.
Right. But I got a lot of this info from this one YouTuber. His name is Jabroni. He makes incredible like docu-style videos on YouTube. And he was talking all about this. And he actually reached out to different people who wrote back to him about the whole experience. And every single one was like, we're just like really big fans. Like, he thinks it's a big joke. It was very much so like a spur of the moment thing, and to dress in all white and do all this stuff. And we only dressed in all white because of the black lights at the concert. And it very clearly is like a thought out marketing plan. Right. But all the fans are just like, we are not in danger. This is not a cult. And a lot of the comments on this video that I was watching were very much so like, if you have to say it's not a cult, it's a cult.
Yeah, I agree.
If you also, somebody else pointed out that like they all call it themselves a family, he calls them the echelon, like all this stuff. And they were like, you know that this is like a cult tactic, right? Like to call yourselves like family, it's like instant intimacy with people. So they were like, this is actually very common with cults. You have like the family, the Manson family, like the family within these cults, like Scientology does something like that, where they're all like spirit tribes or whatever. The 2022 retreat, by the way, is between August 19th and the 22nd. It is still ongoing. Still ongoing to this very day. But I don't know, like even in Jabroni's video where he was like, yeah, like if they're not going to allow drugs, alcohol, weapons, like if you're just going onto this island literally to meditate, is it really a cult? And someone was like, yeah, like that's the whole point. They're fully dependent on him. It's like he is their source of serotonin and enjoyment during this. I think coming out of this, final thoughts, I think that, like, yes, it's a cult, and everyone did sort of collectively forget about the Jared Leto cult.
Right.
However, it's not, like, sinister right now. I just do think that he's a very colorful character, like, a very, like, well, it feels weird to even talk about him endearingly, because when we were off camera, we were talking about the fact that I didn't know this. Jared Leto just has, like, some weird allegations against him by other celebrities, and, like...
I think it was Dylan Sprouse.
Oh.
Dylan Sprouse, like, called him out on Twitter and was like, Jared Leto's in every teenager's DMs.
Yikes.
Like, he's a weird dude.
Weird.
And people who have their own reputations on the line in the industry have come out to say, he's a weird dude.
Yeah. So, a little bit concerning that he's alone on an island with people. It's not like, I did walk away from this, like, sort of endeared towards him. Like, oh, this is kind of, like, weird but cute. And I guess people are paying for it. But then, like, hearing that...
And then here I come, bitch.
Listen, I'd rather be disillusioned and know the truth. I don't know. This entire thing is so fascinating, and I really just wanted to kind of talk shit about Jared Leto a little bit. What do you think about the Jared Leto cult? Are there any final thoughts?
Final thoughts. I mean, it's clearly a fandom.
Yeah.
But he has the makings of being a cult leader.
Absolutely.
And that's where I think I end for now.
I completely could not agree more with that. Like, he definitely has the makings of a cult leader, so it's sort of concerning in more ways than one. But either way, let us know what you guys think down below. For the record, season 2 of our podcast has just started as we're filming this. And we could not be more excited. The newest episode is about the Bridgewater Triangle and all of these like cryptids and stuff. So if you enjoy this style of content of us just like sitting down and like talking about creepy things, you will love Internet Urban Legends. It's available exclusively on Spotify. As I've been telling you for the last year through my video pre-roll, we've got to make another one.
We do.
We're in season 2. It's not a new podcast any longer. So the girls are off to go get margs and tacos for the night with our friend. But thank you all so much for watching the video. If you did enjoy, go ahead and give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Check out Eleanor all over the web under @Snitchery on Twitter, Instagram,
I didn't even introduce myself.
You really didn't. I was just like, this is Eleanor. Hello. This is my bestie.
If not, hey.
If not, hey. Clearly you're in love with her now. So thank you again for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.
Bye.